Hello everybody and welcome to Alternative Interactions. I'm Gary. Please like, share and subscribe. I really do appreciate your support. Now this is probably kind of like a part 2 but not really a part 2 from a video I did a few days ago, part of the Matrix Mindfulness series I'm doing, and this kind of comes from a comment as well as what I was actually going to do. So the owner, thank you very much for your comment, and it's about the manifestation of, or the manipulation of, the manifestation abilities of us. So it's kind of a misdirection of how we are. How can I put this in a nice way? How we are tricked into manifesting or creating things that we wouldn't normally do. So it's kind of the way that the controllers would affect a change that they want. So what do I mean by this? Well, what I mean by this is we can manifest, and we manifest our own reality tunnels. So we are, if you take this as being a movie, we're in a matrix and we're inside the movie, and we're the directors of our own movie fundamentally, and we have the ability to change the course of where we're going to go. Now, a lot of this I think is already pre-programmed or part of our agreement potentially to come here in the first place, because we've come here to having an experience. But within that experience we have wiggle room, let's put it that way. And so we can control or affect or change certain things within that wiggle room. Now, we can manifest really whatever we want, and we create a reality tunnel. So we direct our own movie within this matrix. So if you, say for instance, wanted to manifest, you're single and you want to manifest a partner, there's a couple of key elements that are required for manifestation. So first of all, there's the thought or the want. So we're single. We want a new partner. So, or we would like a new partner. So we come up with some ideas of what that kind of person should be. Now, some people have done it like this, where they've actually written a list out of all the things they really want. And then they've created the list. They've then folded that list up. They've put it behind a picture, or they've placed it on the manifestation board. A little board that you've got all your little wants and stuff, and you can say, "Oh, thank you very much for that. I'm really pleased." But that's only part of it. The other thing is the action of. So, if you're single and you want somebody, and your house is full of all your clothes, there's no room or space for that person to move into. So the simple act of an action, as in clearing out the bedside cupboard or a set of drawers ready for the new person in your life, because you've created space, then puts that intention out into the universe, and you've created the first part of your manifestation. And so the universe or the matrix will then reciprocate your request almost. And so because you've thought about it, you've done an action, and then you've physically done something about it, and then you've had I'm so pleased, this guy's amazing, this woman's amazing, I can't believe how lucky I am, it's brilliant. And then you forget about it. You think it's already happened, you make the happening happen, and then you forget about it. And so that is how we fundamentally manifest. A very basic way, I've just explained it, but that's manifestation in its most basic form. And trust me, it works. Obviously, within human design, there's certain categories, and if you're a manifesting generator, then it becomes a lot easier to you because you're already pre-programmed and pre-designed to be able to do these things. But everybody can manifest and generate whatever they want within their own movie field of this game that we're playing, this matrix, this consciousness, toroidal field of consciousness, because we're here to have an experience. And so you're then creating the experience you want to have by that manifestation. Now, this has, or is often, and has been throughout history, used against us, and in quite dire ways. Now, the example that we were given on the comment, thank you very much, was, it's flu season, and so everyone starts to get ill with flu, because it's a known thing and it's an expectation. And so because you know it and you feel it and it's expected, and people start then to worry and take steps to avoid it, potentially, they're actually, because of the worry and the fear, they're manifesting what they don't want. Now, manifesting is quite a strange thing. It's the most powerful emotion that you put out is what you bring in. So if you are putting out fear, I don't want, you'll still manifest that because it's the biggest emotion. Hence why you have to have that feeling of, I'm so lucky I've got this person, it's brilliant, it's amazing. Because you're creating an emotion, and a strong one, and then you forget about it, and then you make sure that in your mind you don't think about not having, because you already have it. And as once you have the knowing of having it, and the faith in yourself, your inner faith, your inner sovereignty, your sovereign being, you have power. And once you have faith in your inner power and your sovereignty to create this, it will be so. But this can be, as I said, manipulated against us. So it's flu season, we know it's going to be flu season, and people start taking precautions. Then somebody has a sneeze, and everyone's, oh my God, I'm going to catch something. And the manifestation of the fear of that then creates the reality of what you really didn't want to have, if that makes sense. So that's a very basic one. But what I want to look into today is the manipulation of the manifestation abilities of the collective consciousness. So if we go back in history, we're told about good energies, Christ, and we're also told about bad energies, demons for such like. So for a simple reason, we'll use Satan as just one, an example. I mean, there are many, and I will be going into this in my in the future with my presentation, I can assure you, because this really is going down the rabbit hole, and I don't wish to go down the rabbit hole just yet. This is just an overview, but this is connected to the Janus work I'm doing. But we will use Satan for an example. Now, we have the yin and the yang. We have Christ versus Satan, and we can believe and the collective consciousness can believe that Christ is the Saviour and everything's going to be absolutely fine. And that belief, and then walking in those steps, creates the everything is fine. But we also have the manipulation of that somebody in power, an energy form, an energy source, has created this name called Satan. And then they start to attach an energy to it, a fear, a belief system that this name has power. Just as Christ, the name has power. It's a belief system. And this belief system then creates the reality tunnel. Because what we then have is people who believe this will then create fear, if it's a fearful thing, or love, which is a very strong emotion, and faith, which is a strong emotion. But we're going to look at the darker side today, and that's going to be how we're controlled and manipulated. So somebody comes up with the name Satan, and they've decided that that's going to be a way of living and a way in which they want to create an energy that they can feed off. Because all energy is basically food for somebody or something. Loosh, it's called. And again, this connects to my Fibonacci sequence and Metatron's cube, which is fundamentally connected to the Satan, the black cube. But this is how they've actually manifested this into our reality. So somebody has come up with the idea, somebody in power. But I say power, again, there is no real power, because we are the power, because we create. But somebody has come up with the idea, or has been given the idea, or received the idea, and they've decided that this is a way that they can create more power or more energy for themselves and what they require. And so they came up with a name, and then this name is then spread around as being something to fear. And people don't really understand why. And so that creates doubt. And within doubt creates fear. And we get this rolling effect of what we're creating. And then something happens that isn't explainable, that's bad. And the person or the people that are now behind this name to create something spread the word that was done by Satan. And so then we have this consciousness, this awareness within the collective that this is a bad entity. This could be bad luck. So from now onwards I'm going to use the word bad luck, okay? So this event creates bad luck for the person, and the bad luck creates fear. And so the fear is a strong emotion, and so the bad luck then becomes a real thing, and those people start to get bad luck. And the more bad luck they get, the more this spreads. And it's a bit like the 100 monkey syndrome, where you get a certain amount, you've got 100 monkeys in the room, and one or two or three start to do something. And all the other monkeys, via the collective consciousness, so we're all connected via a toroidal fields of consciousness. And whether you know it or not, we communicate with each other in a silent way as well as verbally. And this communication between us can be all sorts of things that we pick up on. So we can pick up energy from people, some more so than others. But we've walked into a room before now and we've felt the energy is quite not nice. And we've decided to leave that room. We've gone into a room and it's a nice energy and everyone's having a good time. And we decide to stay. Well, this is no different to the 100 monkey syndrome. You have one or two monkeys with an energy that's different. And that energy spreads across to all the monkeys eventually until you get a tipping point. And as once you get the tipping point, then it goes very quickly. Woof. You know, so it's slow, 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 and then speeds up and zoom, gone. And this is how the 100 monkey syndrome works. But it's exactly the same in manifesting something in the collective consciousness, or something becoming a knowing or a thing. And so this bad luck thing is created. It's then seen, it's spoken about, there's an action because they can see this, and so that action becomes a reality. Then bad luck becomes a thing, and bad luck then becomes a reality because the fear of bad luck creates this. Or if you're doing something and you have doubt and you think, oh, like buying a lottery ticket, or I'm never lucky in buying a lottery ticket, well, you've just created a reality tunnel. And when you don't win, you can say, see, I never have any luck. You've had the thought that you're not lucky in buying your lottery ticket. You never win. The action is you've gone out and brought it. There's a draw. You check the numbers and you don't win. And because you didn't win, I mean, obviously the odds are fully against you winning anyway, but because you didn't win, that becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. And so you then manifest that bad luck into you. So we can be manipulated in this regard. Now, if we go to modern times now, we have something called the television. Tell lies in vision, as far as I'm concerned. Something that I don't own. I haven't owned a television for probably 4 years now. And certainly don't ever watch television because I don't own one. But I don't. No one I know or where I go has a television, and if I go around there, the television's generally not on anyway. So I've not watched the news, and I've not watched any of the programs, and I've certainly not watched any of the adverts for many, many years. And so I have not been pre-programmed, and I have not been programmed into a kind of thought program system. Because the television has programs in it, and a program is designed to change your thinking. So the television, via the wave, like the hertz that go on there, they can subliminally put anything in that screen that they want you to. There's a very famous old film, I think it's from 1985, called Lay Live. Yeah, Lay Live, with Rowdy Rodney Piper. And it's a terrible film, but it's actually a very good film. Because it's about the society being controlled by an alien species who are using subliminal messages like consume and such like. But when you put a pair of glasses on with a certain tint of brown, you can see through this, and you can see them, and you can see the game. So that's kind of what the awakening is as well, isn't it? It's like putting on those glasses and seeing through the facade, because it is a facade. So the television, you'll watch something and the program will show you something that may not be very nice, like a horror film. And the horror film is installing a fear of something bad happening with something that's associated with a name. Now we're using bad luck again now, aren't we? But you know the sort of names I'm talking about. And so you watch a horror film and bad luck creates havoc. But that's then in your mind. The seed has been sown. And then when something happens out in the reality of the non-reality of the television, that association is there in your mind, and you create fear from that. And so you then create what the person wanted to be created by producing that. And it's exactly the same with government, politics particularly. I mean, politics is many parasites, isn't it? Many ticks are a parasite. Blood sucking. And government means to govern the mind. So when we're looking at government rules and regulations and what you can and can't say via the thought police that we currently have in the United Kingdom and around many parts of the world currently, this installs a fear, and it stops people from their natural reactions, and it stops people from talking about certain events because they have a fear of a repercussion that will come from that. And so that could be classed as, in overall, bad luck. And you know what bad luck really means, because I've just spoken about it earlier in the show. So the government is managing your mind to parasite off the fear created to control you into doing something that you would not normally do, or to affect and change your behaviour. Now the government has manifested this, and the manifestation has created it due to the consciousness. Because if most of the monkeys in that room of that 100 believe what they're seeing on the television, they will collectively create that vibrational frequency, and they will create that reality. So even though there'll be some monkeys that don't believe what they're seeing, and some monkeys haven't even bothered to watch the television, they will have very little effect while that fear and that manifestation system and process is being pumped into their brains every single day. And this is a very, very toxic way of manifesting that the elite controllers understand, and they use us to create their reality, or they have been. So everybody watching this still currently, and thank you very much, you're different, because you're questioning and you're thinking about what's going on. And the process of questioning their manifestation of fear and bad luck means that you're breaking the spell. Because words are spells and writing is spelling. Our language tells us everything we need to know, but we don't think about it. I mean, I probably need to do a show just on language. A couple. Shall we go on a tangent? We like a tangent, don't we? Let's go on a tangent. So when we look at the straw man and the financial stuff, we then have to go to 1666 and the Cestui Act. And I know I'm saying that wrong, but it's the Cestui Act, and I can't say it any other way. That's how I remember it in my brain. But in 1666, the Cestui Act was passed in the British Parliament in French, which is why it's called the Cestui Act. And what that did was fundamentally pronounced every man, woman and child dead over sea after a 7-year period. And so 7 years after the Cessna V Act, every single man, woman and child who did not claim that they are the living man or woman were pronounced dead, which then meant that a third-party corporation, which is a paper-based thing, a dead entity, could then legally interact with that person because that person was then dead. And this is why you get letters from courts and official things, and often banks, and your name will be in capital letters, which is Pig Latin. And the only people that have capital letters as their name are those in the graveyard, because all gravestones are in capital letters. The names are always in capital letters, because that denounced the death of. And when we sign official documentations, we have to sign inside the box with black ink, and the box represents the coffin, and the black ink is your signature confirming that you're the dead entity inside the coffin. But it gets even worse, because in our language it's been changed. So in the morning we say good morning. Well, when you're dead, those around you mourn you. But in the morning you wake. So you're awake in the morning. And when someone's died in mourning, they'll be awake afterwards for the dead. And I could go on, but I'm not. But language has been changed to that of the controllers by using their manifestation system. They have changed the language and manifested a change via what they do and how they do it, that people accept the change in language, but what they're actually doing is putting spells on themselves and confirming the fact that everybody's dead. You say good morning, and even hello is hell in low. Hell and low. So you're in hell and you're low, is what you're saying when you say hello. It's quite shocking when you really start looking into it. But these are spells and ways in which they trick us into manifesting certain things. And the news and the television does the same. You know, how many times has somebody been ill and gone to a doctor, and they've got what is classed as a terminal disease, and the doctor has said, well, I think you're going to pass in 6 months. I'll give you 6 months to live. And normally within a few days of that 6 months, that person passes. Now, if the doctor hadn't said anything to them, would they have? Would they not have? The doctor put a spell on the person. He manifested an event. The person believed that, so had the emotional response, then went round and told everybody, confirming the spell, and then made plans for their passing. And so the manifestation of the spell was complete, and they did pass. Now that all sounds quite dreary and quite dull and quite heavy. But like I said, you guys are watching me, and we're breaking the spell, and we can see what's going on. And as once you start questioning and seeing and understanding the game and how they do it, you break the spell and you become free. And the more you break the spell and the freer you become, the more you're able to absorb the light and the love and see their game for what it really is. As Jason of Archaics would say, you then become an errant. Your glitch in the matrix programming can't be controlled by the collective consciousness anymore. You can then start having your own thoughts and then start creating your own reality tunnels, completely separately to what the collective consciousness is doing and what they're being told to do by the television or by authority, which really has no authority. I did a Matrix Mindfulness about externalization of our power. And this really comes back to that chat that I did many weeks ago now, I guess. When you accept what somebody tells you, you're giving away your power. And they can do what they want with you then. But when you stand within your own power, your own authority, your own sovereignty, because we are sovereign beings, when you stand and understand your own power, you cannot be controlled by them, because you then have developed discernment and understanding of how they trick us into manifesting what they want. And as soon as you stop manifesting what they want by understanding this, their little game is up. And we get the 100 monkey effect. And trust me, that effect really starts kicking now. It really is. And this all goes back to what I was talking about before with my Operation Looking Glass, which was shut down in 2012. These same people, these fearmongers, were trying to effect a change that was beneficial to them. And whatever they did, whatever they tried to change, they couldn't. The outcome was always the same. We won, we evolved, and we escaped. And it didn't matter what they did. That was always going to be the outcome. But what they have chosen to do is they have chosen to try and create as much fear as possible to trap as many as possible within their realm to stop them leaving. But the fact that you're watching me means you're leaving because you're already questioning. You're already thinking about that matrix mindfulness of getting out of the matrix, whether you realise it or not. You no longer accept what you're told. And it then comes back to my favourite saying, which is observe but don't absorb. You observe the film, the matrix, the game playing out in front of you, but you do not absorb the energy. You do not give it energy, and you do not take that energy in. And then you decide what reality tunnel you want to create through the manifestation that we naturally have. So you think about it, you're happy with the idea, you have the emotion, and then you walk towards it. And it doesn't matter what they do. Ultimately, they can't stop you. Because you are the true power in this realm. And as once they can't manipulate you anymore into that fear, into that bad luck, you then change your luck around. And you then start to vibrate at a much higher vibrational resonance, which the bad luck people find quite toxic. So this is another thing that you're probably finding as you're going through this journey, and that it's certainly one that I experienced And it was quite hard for many years. Almost, I was isolated for many years, in fact. And if you talk to people who have been without fear and growing on this journey for some period of time, they've all felt this way. And I have to say, at this point in time, over the last 13 years or so, that I've been aware and working on myself to develop and grow into my own personal power, this is the most people I've ever had around me and the most support I've ever had around me. And that shows me something very clearly. There's been a huge change, a positive change, which then kicks back to the Operation Looking Glass, where they shut it down because they couldn't stop what was coming. And we have this. We also have divine guidance and influence from our higher selves, Source. And I probably do need to talk about Source in a bit more detail and what that really means to me and how this affects the change in which we can go. Because Source is the internalization of our own power, our sovereignty, our true sovereign self. And it's completely opposite to the externalization of giving your power away to the bad luck people. So we're in a very, very good position. We really are. But be aware of how they continue via the news to put in this fear and manipulate our manifestation skills. Because they don't do that to me anymore. And I try to spread the word to wherever I can and show them what's really going on and how they can become sovereign power and take back their power with the knowing of who they really are. And it's a very, very powerful thing and something that they can't fight. What can they do to me? I mean, I am an immortal being having an experience in a realm that doesn't exist. But I can have a really nice time here and I can spread the word and I can do something like have this YouTube channel to help support those that need that little bit of help to understand exactly where we are going. Because we are going to Shangri-La for sure. The Promised Land. The 5D, whichever language you want to use, we are going there. There's nothing they can do to stop that, and they know that. But they will make it more and more difficult. So perhaps next time we need to talk about discernment of what we see as well, because the Truther community and YouTube, however you want to call the community, the research community, and I think more of myself as more as a researcher than a truther. And all I'm doing is telling you what I've learned during my years of research and expressing myself. You don't have to believe me, and I hope you do your own research on that, and you should do, because it's a personal journey. But if you choose to listen to how I've done it and my thoughts, it might just help you fast track a little bit on some of the concepts and ideas. But the Truther community is very, very heavily infiltrated with bad luck. So be mindful out there, because discernment is a very, very powerful weapon that we have. So there's a few concepts that I probably need to look at further on this. But I think that hopefully covers the manipulation of the manifestation that we have the power to do and how to stop it. Stop giving them the power. Observe, don't absorb. be the casual observer. So what? What can they do? They can't do anything to you. And with that, love, light and blessings, everybody. Thank you very much for listening. See you next time. Bye.